Tree in the Trail by Holling Clancy Holding. A tree once grew upon a hill between two rocky buttes. A running spring watered its roots and made a pond below it. There came a day when the spring ran dry and the pond vanished. Men tore down the buttes for rocks to build houses and highways. Even the hill was cut and graded until one who had seen it would pass it by unknowing. And what happened to the tree? It lives on in this story. Tree in the Trail. Chapters 1, 2, and 3. An Indian boy and his uncle, a scout of the Kansas tribe, followed an ancient buffalo trail up a lone hill. Two rocky buttes of the same size stood on the hilltop, a large pond between them. The boy raced towards the pond, but his uncle cried, "That is the buffalo's muddy watering place. We'll drink from the spring above it." And so they drank clear, cold water bubbling from the rocky side of one butte. The scout climbed the butte to stand motionless on its flat top. His keen eyes searched the great plains below him. Tall grass billowed in the wind like waves on an endless sea. Tiny dots moved in the distance on the trail over where they had come. The boy explored the shores of the pond. Among scattered rocks stood a single cottonwood sapling no taller than himself. "Ho, young tree," he cried. "For days I have seen none of your tribe. How did you come to be the only tree on this empty plain?" Just then a breeze swept up the slope and rustled the sapling leaves. "Aha!" cried the boy. "You talk, and I know what you say. Once you were a tiny seed, a papoose wrapped in white down. Your cradle board swung from the tree. Then a strong summer wind came by. It lifted you from your mother's arms and brought you here. You see," laughed the boy, "I understand tree talk. I think he was a wise wind. He planted your seed in this mud among the sharp-edged rocks where buffalo do not like to walk. But soon now they will reach over the rocks to scratch themselves against your branches. I'll make a stockade to protect you." And the boy piled rocks higher around the lone sapling. Chapter 2. The People Who Walked. The boy paused in his work beside the young sapling to watch his uncle on the butte. The scout waved a deerskin. It soared in wide sweeps and danced in jerks. It signaled that buffalo were near and might soon return to drink at the pond. A band of Kansas hunters saw the signals and walked towards the hill. They were so far away that the boy saw only tiny dots moving along the ancient trail. For another hour he piled some stones around the young tree, chanting, "Ha! I'm making you an island of sharp rocks. Here you will be safe from the heavy hooves when we hunt the buffalo." Buffalo hunting on open plains was difficult for these Kansas Indians. When a few beasts in a herd were killed, the rest often stampeded for many miles without stopping. The Indian could not run after them, and as yet they had no horses, so hunts were planned to get a great many buffalo all at once. The hill of the Twin Buttes was known as a perfect place for such a hunting ground. The boy paused against his work. Now he could tell which dots on the trail were children and which were dogs. Each dog hauled a travois, poles spread out like the letter A, and the wide ends dragging. These thirsty animals dashed forward when they smelled pond water. The boy laughed to see bundles and lazy youngsters rolling off the racing, bouncing travois. Women soup pitched buffalo hide teepees near the pond. Children gathered buffalo chips, sun-dried droppings of waste grass, the fuel for fires on the plain. A girl approached the young tree with a stone axe. "No, you don't," said the boy, stepping forward. "If you need a stick to fix a travois, cut the end off an old teepee pole. But leave this sapling. Someday it will be a great tree to shade our people when we come again to the hill." Chapter 3. Arrows and Spears. "Ho!" called the scout from the butte top one morning. "Far off! Buffalo coming!" At this news the Indian camp went wild. Children caught dogs and rolled bundles. Men dashed fires with water. Women flew at the teepees, which tumbled down like flapping birds. Everything seemed to be confusion, but in 10 minutes, women, children, and dogs streaked down the east slope with all their possessions and vanished into a gully. Nothing remained of the camp but scattered ashes. 50 men and some boys hugged the butte so closely and lay so flat in the grass that only a flying hawk could see them. The thirsty buffalo had seen nothing. Sorry, I turned the wrong page for you guys. There come the buffalo. The thirsty buffalo had seen nothing. They trotted up the west side of the hill, unable to scent danger against the wind. The sharp rocks forced fencing the young sapling split the herd, which rushed past to splash knee-deep in water. Pond and hilltop were hidden under a moving brown blanket of beasts, all but the island of rocks, where the little cottonwood tree stood bravely. Arrows rained suddenly from the butte tops, hissed upward from the grassy slope. Yearlings, calves, and young bulls began falling at the edge of the herd. Those at the center did not know what was happening. They struggled with one another for a place to drink. At last, showers of arrows killed many of those in the pond. This alarmed the whole herd, and the animals wheeled and ran madly. The hunters threw down their spears at buffaloes streaming below them. A river of buffalo rushed downhill like a muddy brown flood. With a thunder of pounding hoofs, they were gone, stampeding across the plain. But out of 1,000, nearly 200 lay dead among the grassy slope and the hilltop around the young tree. That would feed and clothe them for a long time.